Hello everyone, it's Space Chaser again. Welcome to another video. This is another of the model reviews that I do from time to time, looking at some of the older models you can get on the second-hand market. And today we've got the Corgi Original Omnibus Company OOC Plaxton Première coach, and the one we're looking at is in the livery of national holidays. So the Première was introduced by Plaxton in 1991 and it was produced till around 1999. Originally it had a different back. The first one's made in about 1991-92. The back end, the window extended over the corner of the roof. They had horizontal lights and they also had a massive boot lid that was kind of the size from where the National Holidays thing is down to the bottom. The problem is the boot lid was that massive that it wouldn't stay up. The struts that held it weren't strong enough to hold it up. So it kept coming down on drivers as they were trying to load luggage. They tried to tighten the resistance on the struts, and that meant that the drivers had to be like Arnold Schwarzenegger to lift it up. And then once they got over all that, when they shut it again, it was so heavy that it crushed the rubber strip at the bottom. There was a rubber strip that was designed to make the boot waterproof, and it crushed that and let water into the boot, so the suitcases got wet. Plaxton has tinkered with the design for a couple of years to try and rectify the problems. In the end, they gave up and just redesigned it completely. So they've put a more normal roof corner on, a smaller back window, and a conventional boot flap that was just sort of that size, and that cured the problem. The ones with the later rear were far more numerous because they were built for longer, and Corgi have chosen to model that later rear, which makes a lot of sense, gives them a lot more scope. The Première was built on Volvo B10M chassis, which this one is. It was also built on Scanias, on DAFs and on Danish Javelins. And as I say, it was produced from 1991 till around 1999-2000, somewhere around there. The vehicle that we've got to review today is catalogue number 43319 in the Corgi range. It was issued in May 2000. Corgi did the Plaxton Première between April 1998 and August 2006, and in that 8-year period they managed to produce 29 different liveries on it, so they did quite a lot. But as I say, this one, catalogue number 43319, the National Holidays one, released in May of 2000. This was initially released for National Holidays only. The first however many produced went to National Holidays, who made them available to their customers. That's how I got one. My late auntie went on one of their holiday tours and they were offering them for sale to the people on the tour, and she bought one for me, knowing that I'm into buses and model buses. After a short while though, it went on to general release. Corgi put it onto general release through ordinary dealers, so it became just a standard model. So the real vehicle T3ONH, which was fleet number 80, was new to National Holidays in March 1999, and it served with them for a number of years before going to Seaview services on the Isle of Wight, where it was re-registered as PDL 298 for a period of time. So we've done the history. We'll have a look around the model, and we start as always with the front. I'm not going to take this one off its base because it's a display case model, and I don't want to sort of scratch underneath with the screws and things like that. It's kept as a tribute to my auntie. Like I say, sadly she has passed away, so I'm going to leave it on its base. The chassis, there's not much to see really. There's a bit of basic chassis detailing, as you would expect on most die casts. But we'll start with the front. The construction of this model, the area below the windows on the front and sides, and also the entire rear end and the chassis is a one-piece casting metal. Above that you've got a plastic window unit, which is like an open bottomed tray, a bit like the top of the box, if I show you that. The back window sticks out with that and it locates into the hole in the rear of the casting. The roof lights stick out of the top of the window unit and they go through holes in the roof as well. So you've got that plastic, as I say, open bottom tray for the windows, and then you've got a metal roof that goes on top there. So that's the construction of it. That explains how some of it looks. So we start with the roof at the front. You've got the little marker lights there, which they're actually stand proud of the casting side. They're cast into it and picked out in silver, which looks really good. Some of the ones Corgi produced had a destination blind, other ones didn't. The destination blind, where it was on, was printed on. On this one you've got a bit of a sunscreen thing with far and away the best value slogan printed onto it. Again, some of the production had split windscreens, some had a single piece. The split windscreen is represented by just printing the glazing bar onto the screen, as you can see there. The wipers are separate pieces, but they're quite big and quite flimsy, so I wouldn't recommend catching them because they will break off. Similarly, the mirrors, I mean, there is a bit of flexibility in them, as you can see, so that you don't instantly snap them off, but again, they're quite vulnerable to being caught and being broken off, so just be careful of those. The front panel, quite plain on these. Some of the earlier Plaxton Premieres had quite a big grille just underneath where the registration plate is, but this one didn't, so it's correctly not modelled on it. So quite a plain front, but the detail all cast in, the lights, the indicators, the little intake grills there. And you've got the Volvo Plaxton lettering above the registration plate. This model should have fog lights. It's got recesses for them, but they're not picked out in silver. But the real bus did actually have fog lights, so they should be picked out in silver. We come round to the side. The general impression of it is pretty good as well. It looks like it should do. It's the right shape. It's a slightly weird effect on the door because half of it is printed onto the glazing unit and half of it's cast into the bottom part, so you can kind of see the join. But generally the shape's all right. The little window in the bottom of it's a little bit awkward because again that's a bit of plastic that sticks through the hole in the casting. The wheel arch shape is pretty good. The grills are printed on so that they can do different chassis variants. This one, as I say, was a Volvo, but the Scanias and DAFs and etc had different grill arrangements, so Corgi could represent them by just printing them on in different places. The front wheels, not that you can see this really because it's on its base, but they are poseable. You can just see there, you can make them look like they're the bus is steering around the corner. A word of warning, if you're repainting one of these, do not try and take the tyres off, particularly on the front. Because they stay, they're on little stub axles for each of the wheels, and the tyres are really hard to get off on these, so you'll pull at them and you will pull the wheel off and just have to glue it back on, at which point it won't steer and it won't rotate. That is the voice of experience. I've done it myself. To be fair, the back tyres on these are quite hard to get off as well, so you're best just to mask the tyres off carefully, or just paint around with a very sort of fine brush and avoid the tyres, but don't try and take the tyres off, particularly as I say on the front end. The panel detailing is part of the casting. That looks pretty good. The windows on these deserve a shout out. They're tinted as they should be, but I've seen various models that should have tinted windows. Sometimes manufacturers put clear glazing in, which looks a bit rubbish, and other times they over tint it so you can't really see the interior. This just about gets it right, it just about hits the spot. You can see the interior through the window quite clearly, but you can see the tint on the window as well, which is really good. Not quite sure what this is on the back end there. Presumably it'll come off just through years of being stored, I think. Yeah, there we go. That's it. So the rear is pretty good as well. Again, the little marker lights, there's a little dimple on the casting for them, and they're picked out in red. The back window looks quite good. Again, it's got the slogan, far and away the best value, printed across. This lets it down a bit. It's got the repeater lights there. I'm guessing the real bus didn't actually have the repeater indicators because the indentations are there in the casting, but they're not picked out in orange. It would probably have been better just to pick them out because you know, most people wouldn't know that T3 ONH didn't have repeater indicators. So if you put them on, they wouldn't think anything of it. Whereas obviously the unused recess there looks a bit strange. So yeah, it might have been better to put them on. National Holidays lettering and the logo quite nicely done there. The Volvo Plaxton badges again. The registration plate on the rail thing was in a recess, but they haven't put the recess in the casting. It's printed on. It does look printed on as well. It doesn't look particularly brilliant, to be fair. Got the little repeater lights there. The boot catch, which should be picked out in black but isn't. And then you've got the lights there. Again, the later vertical lights rather than the earlier horizontal ones that I was talking about. The part of the casting, they look pretty reasonable, but on this they're painted a little bit too brightly. I think they might benefit from being toned down slightly. Go around to the offside, just try and film it as best as I can. Again, you've got a slightly odd look on the emergency door because the top half of it's printed onto the window unit and the bottom part is part of the cast unit there. Again, the door handle will benefit from being picked out in silver. You've got a slight build quality issue with the window unit there. It's kind of sticking out and it's become a bit scuffed because of it. That's about it. Otherwise than that, pretty similar to the near side. The panel detail cast in, the wheel arch shape, nice. And again, the windows look good. The pillar there looks a bit strange again because it is just painted onto the window unit, as is the corner pillar. If we look at the roof, not much to see as you'd expect on a modern vehicle, but you've got the extractor vent cast in there. Again, the skylights that look pretty good, and the intake vents there for the air conditioning cast on. Again, they look really good. Otherwise than that, quite plain as it should be, but you've got the kind of rain strip detail along the edge raised up, which is a nice feature. A lot of manufacturers would just have done a flat roof and not bothered with that. Just look at the interior. It's easy to look through the front window because you can see it better because it's not, the front windscreen isn't tinted. As you can see, it's quite nice. It's there's some moulded detail in the seats. They're individually moulded. It would benefit from being picked out in a different relief colour. Sorry, I'm just trying to get the lighting correct on it. I've got a light shining on, but it's reflecting off. That's it, we can see it a bit better there. So yeah, there's nice detail there in the interior, but it would benefit, as I say, from being picked out in a different colour. So we're coming down to price. How much will one of these set you back? Well, I'll have a quick look at eBay for the purposes of this video. The cheapest one I could find was £8.99 plus postage and packing, which was I think between £4 and £5. So you're looking then around £13–14, and the most expensive was £35. That was a National Express one. They tend to be more sought after, and again that had postage and packing on top. So you're looking, as I said, with postage and packing included, between £13 and about £40. The National Holidays one was the one I could find was selling for about £16, I think, somewhere around there. So that's about mid-range, I would say. And you know, they're not the most expensive, but it depends which one you want. Again, some of them are more sought after than others, so it's a case of shopping around. Is it worth getting one? Well, yes, it is. I mean, they were quite a commonplace vehicle, and they're still relevant today. Although they were produced in the mid to late 90s, I'm doing this in September 2024. There are still some locally to me. There's a firm that have 3 or 4 of these still in service. They do basically school services and private hires. And there's another couple of local coach firms that have got one each as well. So there are still quite a few of them about. Although they're quite old now, the spare parts are quite plentiful for them. So a lot of operators do keep them for budget private hires and school duties and things like that. So as I say, as I'm doing this in 2024, they are still relevant. Certainly if you've got like a model railway or something, one of these or a couple of these even on it would be really, really good. But yeah, you're looking, as I say, somewhere between £13 and £40, including postage and packaging. Most of them are towards the sort of lower end of that, so say 13 to 20, somewhere around there. But yeah, it's well worth getting. It's a nice model, if somewhat basic. It's not the most detailed model, and it's not the least, but it's just a nice, reasonable model. It looks pretty much like it should do, and yeah, it's I would say it's worth getting. So thank you as always for joining me. Take care, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.